my first time running a meet directors clinic, so like I try and keep all the meetings short, sweet, to the point, interactive, informative, and get you home before the last game starts tonight. Can I finish? So, anyway, today I want to talk to you guys more about being a meet director since you've had at least minimum 1 year experience of doing it. I want to get to talk to you guys about any changes we've done this year you need to be aware of while you're making your corrections to your meet announcements and submitting those. And then I've also reached out to a few board members to see if there's anything they wanted to cover in this meeting. And outside of that, this is going to be an open forum where I want you guys to come with your problems and your questions and your sticky areas. And we've got so many different meet directors that have been doing this for so long. Surely we can provide that feedback here tonight to help you guys run better. And that's what it's all about. If you ever have any questions, you can email me, tpc@swimming.org. My personal email address, coachplay@comcast.net. Cell phone address, I'll be happy to give it to you after the meeting. I'm not going to give that out in the public forum again. Again. All right. So let me just get through this, and this is what everybody's going to go through tonight. So we're going to kind of speed through just a little bit of it. If anybody sees something that they had a problem with, you had a problem with it on the meet director's test, you want better clarification, and we need to stop and talk, let's do that. And then when we get towards the end, it'll be all the new stuff. So, agenda, we're trying to talk about why we're here. What I always thought was funny when I sat through this meeting is, why am I here? I'm a coach for a United States swim team, but I want to know how meets run. And I like to volunteer, and I think that's kind of part of the coaching staff and club's responsibility is to recruit meet directors, and I think coaches should have that experience whenever they pass that on. But it is, do you have the time? So the question I have for you guys tonight after doing this, do you have the time, or are you making the time to do this? That's what we're going to ask, because this does take a lot of time. You guys know, you've done this. So what I'm going to try and talk to them tonight about after I get some feedback from you guys is, how do you guys do this? I know how I do it as a meet director, and I know how a few other people do it as a meet director, but how do you handle the job that is pretty monumental sometimes and make it successful for the teams that are coming? You know, keep your focus on the athletes, keep your focus on providing the best facility you can. You know, so as we go through that, you know, what's y'all's experience with that? How do y'all compartmentalize? Somebody with some experience, what do you guys do?
So we, in our team, we have currently 2 meet directors, so
Okay.
we divide, and also our team manager helps us a lot with sending all the, I guess, the official documentation.
Mm-hmm.
And as meet directors, we're mostly in charge of, you know, getting the chairs, and making sure the water, I mean, all of those
Right.
things that are at the facility, but our team manager normally takes care of all the documentation.
Okay, so we divide in conquer.
Yes.
Okay, so we have certain people that are good at some things. They don't all have to be licensed or certified meet directors to help you with getting everything together, making phone calls, getting with the ISD, contracts, all that good stuff that needs to be done ahead of time. So I know at the team I used to work out, we used to have 4 or 5 meet directors. And that was our goal. And every year we'd have 2 or 3. Okay? Every year we would end up with 2 or 3. Yes, there's 2, and there's the third one right there. They're pointing at me like, you never had 5. The goal was to always have 5. Because people get sick, you can list them all on your meet announcement, and you can compartmentalize. And my biggest concern is burning volunteers. And you're all volunteers, you're all parents. For the most part, parents and coaches, sometimes both. There's board members here. Okay? And it's awesome to see board members who may or may not have children on the team here at these meetings learning how to be meet directors or been long-time meet directors. Okay? We used to compartmentalize it. I would, as one of the coaches, but as a licensed, certified meet director, I would write the meet announcements, put in the dated information, send it to a couple other meet directors, have them look it over, send it to my meet referee, have them look it over. I mean, there was lots of eyes. And when you compartmentalize and everybody just trades their work and say everybody turn their eye on it, it makes it a lot easier. You know, our executive director would handle securing the facility the best he could. He was dealing with an ISD, and I know most of you have to deal with ISDs. You know how that can be. You know, who's putting together the meat file? And at the same time, are we letting everybody else try to do different things? And that's where it gets difficult. If somebody's really good at doing meat files, you're going to let them do all the meat files. It's really quick and it's doing it. I don't have to. Somebody's really good at writing meat announcements. Great, but those two need to be able to interchange jobs too. So just to kind of get into some best practices on meat director stuff, does anybody else have anything that will really streamline how they handle the meat director position on the back of the house side, planning, pre-planning? Okay. All right, moving on. So, as well, lost connection. So, the next thing we're going to go through is the different positions. The meat referee as defined by the USA Swimming Rules. Meat directors, administrative officials. Does anybody have any questions on how the administrative official and the meat director interact? Would anybody like to share on how that happens and how that needs to happen? Anybody have any problems in those areas? Carl, what's up, man? Yes, share, please.
Our RAOs are the ones who generally would be making the meat files and running that entire room. So they schedule all the people that are in the room doing all the clerk force people, on deck people, anybody doing meat manager. So they handle that side of it for us. And we can set up the computers and the network and
Right.
they schedule that entire room.
Well, that's really good. I mean, because your administrative official is the one that's constantly on the meat computer doing your final reconciliation, getting the reconciliation file to Lauren, and with the new map rules we're going to have to adopt this year, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, it's a little bit more time consuming for meat directors. But having the administrative official who's doing all that stuff anyway, start with the meat file is a good way to compartmentalize that. So after the administrative officials, certified officials, meet requirements, all of this stuff on the PowerPoint today I'm going to put on the website, and I try to make it a little bit more interactive to help you get to the information you need. So if you'll notice, all the different links on there are fully active, take you where you need to go. The Gulf Officials Rebate Program. Does anybody have any questions over this? Because I talked, again, to a few board members, and they had some areas they wanted me to discuss, and this is one. Okay? Is anybody unaware of the meat director's rebate form? The official rebate form, excuse me. No? Okay, is everybody working with their meat referees to get those filled out and submitted to the proper people? Because apparently that's been an issue to the point where I think the Gulf wants to get rid of it. Is that correct? Been discussed. So we're getting rid of it. Possibly. So, yes, ma'am.
Question on that?
Sure.
Why is it that we don't have that even, I mean, I think it's a great thing, but why is that not the meat director's responsibility to fill out? Because I find that I'm constantly going back to him afterwards and asking him, okay, it cracks me up, it's half the time I get a cow that we have 4 for this team, 3 for this team, you guys are giving it to me by session, and I can't break it out, and
Right.
so I feel like.
So it's a good question because I've been in that situation myself, and the question is shouldn't that be the meat referee's job? They have all the information, and they're fully willing to share that information with you, but it's the responsibility of all reporting falls underneath the meat director. So this is what I did. I would email that rebate form to the meat referee. They would fill it out for me and send it back, or they would send me their raw data and I would pull it out from there. So unfortunately, that's the best system we have, and I hope that's working out. I've never really had much of a problem with it, but the meat referees that I've dealt with usually send me all the stuff I need for my other forms that have the meat director. What was the official start time, end time, any splashes we had, for the 4-hour rule, all that good stuff. They're usually willing and able to help with that. But I'd like to pass that question off to Donna if she would like to add anything to that on meat rebate form, even though it might be obsolete at this point.
That rebate form, because we usually, before this, it was another LLC chair who created this. So that's why it was passed on to the meat director's job. So now it comes like, okay, why the meat referees are not responsible, but in the beginning, it's always been the meat director.
Right.
So that's why, there's a confusion, but this is how it is, and then we report that. The meat director, I think the meat director needs to kind of email to us or inform us. I usually, by end of the meet, end of the session, I give it to the meet director, here's a copy. You know, so we don't have to email back and forth.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's how it
And,
is.
and maybe it's that the TPC might need to make that a little bit more streamlined,
Yes.
easier to do. Just like we did for tonight's meet director clinic, I can have a Google form set up that just, puts it into a spreadsheet. Yep, absolutely. You know who worked how many sessions, so maybe it's something we can work on to help out the meet director streamline that. Because there's lots of new stuff being added constantly. And I've felt the same as a meet director. Sometimes it's like, wow, we have all this stuff that we have to do, but yet we don't get to do anything once the meet starts. That's kind of not fair. I do all the work. Donna gets all the glory.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So, any other questions about the officials rebate form? Did that help at all? We'll look into it and see if we can't do to streamline that process. Yes?
Yes.
Henry?
Don't the referees need to enter which officials work in OTS?
Yes.
Okay, so the meet directors just need to ask the referee for the report from OTS. Because that report will show how many officials worked in which clubs in your meet. And what you need to do is just plug the numbers into the form. You don't need to write it out in an email. All I gotta do is just print out the report from OTS, forward that report to you.
Is it a pretty neat form?
Huh?
Is it pretty, organized form where they can pull that information out of it?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
I
this-
think what's happening is mainly people are asking.
Yeah, but you see, from the beginning when it's set up is the meet director, so that is,
Meet
yeah,
director has
so,
to ask the
yeah,
referee.
yeah, so that's why we follow, right?
Right.
Yeah, but now you guys want to change it, then I have to inform my meet referees, so
Well,
I
I
don't
tell
know
you-
why, what you guys want to do now. So if you want to push it to the meet referee, then we can do that. So probably you
Alright.
have a Google form, then go pop in, set up, do that, and then send right to Tom.
I'll get with you sometime this week and we'll talk about what
Okay.
would be the best way to get the information and get it all logged that everybody doesn't feel like it's just a burden, and then we'll set a process for it and take it forward.
But for now, right? Because we wanna
But
get
for
rid
now,
of
it's
it.
just about communication. How do you want this information? How do you want to get this information to me? And again, that's stuff that you need to discuss with your meet referee before the meet starts. Okay? That's the one thing I've talked to the meet officials about. I've talked to several meet officials. Constant communication with the officials before, during, and after the meet is all they're really asking for, especially when you're doing that sanction. When you turn in your sanction as the TPC, this year I got to see so many emails, and I went back and looked at this particular presentation, and then I found out why I was receiving so many emails, because at some point during the presentation last year, it said that you had to send your sanction to your meet referee, the TPC chair, the general chair, and finally the sanctions coordinator. I'm like, Red, it needs to just go to the sanctions coordinator. That's who it needs to go to. You have to have the sanctions so you don't get fined. Who also? Your meet referee. Their name's on the list. In fact, any key personnel you list on there, that's a good practice to CC to them when you turn in for sanctions, so everybody knows where you're at in the sanction process. So, there's that. Thank you. Moving on. So anyway, there's the rebate form. Obviously, you can't see that. Perfect. That's exactly what I was going for there. And there's another version of it that's just as good. Fantastic. Again, it looks great on a computer. Safety marshals. Here's another area that we were asked to discuss. Safety marshals must be what? 21 years old. You know how many meets I went to this year that had high school volunteers as meet marshals? It's really going to play a big part this year. Map rules are out. It's gonna play a big part. We need everybody 21 and not on a phone and certified to be on deck. That's a big change. And we've, in my personal opinion, have skirt-tailed this issue long enough. Okay, teams will and need to pay for non-athlete registration, APT, background screening, and if they have safety marshals, they must be 21 years old or older to do it. And that's just the way we need to do it now.
I have a question. We had some of our meets, we had a couple safety marshals, but then we added, because the city required some certain areas to be supervised, like gates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We had, volunteers that were not
Outside of the
21.
building and off the deck is completely different.
Okay.
I'm talking about safety marshals. A safety marshal
But
is
they had
somebody
to
that is
work on deck. They were on deck because it's just a big outdoor pool.
Oh,
so
okay, I see
they
what
were
you're saying.
running around.
They're like
So-
monitoring the gates to enter the deck.
Right, so here, I'm sure
Technically, they're
there's a
under.
board member or two here that can help or will clarify if I don't say it correctly, but it is anybody that is coming into direct contact with an athlete has to go through the APT. And the biggest discussion right now is timers.
There
So
was
is
some
that
discussion about the
well, no,
timers.
is that direct contact or indirect contact? Depends on who you ask. Timers don't necessarily have to or are required to have direct contact with the athlete. They are there to time and time only. But what do we always tell our timers? Help the swimmers in and out of the water, get their name, all that good stuff. We might have to change that. But as far as somebody out in the parking lot or somebody at the front door, still need to be 21. Do they have to be APT and non-athlete certified? Best practice, absolutely. Okay. Anything else on safety marshals? I was told to hammer that home. 21 or older and registered non-athlete with their APT and background screening. Okay. So, questions to ask yourself? Why we ask these questions? Yes, absolutely. Why am I doing this? You like children? Hopefully you do. All of you all laugh because you've done it before. Am I the right person for the job? Okay, so this is the question I had to ask myself as a meet director. You have to change some stuff. You have to compartmentalize, you have to be super organized, you have to think ahead, you have to have a timeline. You have to stick to that timeline. And so that's another area we're going to talk about because there are some board members that asked me to discuss that area. So what are your weaknesses? As I was talking about earlier, we compartmentalize. And we like to put our best person doing meet files, making meet files, and our best person that's very detail-oriented on the meet announcements, so on and so forth. Again, make sure they can interchange their jobs. Because if somebody goes sick or goes out of town for a week and a half, that gets very stressful on your team. Expectations. You guys know this. I mean, is there anything else we need to add to these guys coming in that don't know any better, that a 10-under meet is new to the sport, you need to really focus on the best possible experience for those 10-unders. And if you're going to an all-ages meet, you're going to have a mixed bag of those. When you go to a senior meet, it's, guys, get to the block and let's get out of here. Right? Okay. So, one of the things that I've been trying to emphasize as the chair of the technical planning committee is we got to have fun. We got to get outside the box. And personal opinion, we've been cookie cutter for a long time. And so now that we're moving to an open market system, the open meets are getting smaller because less teams are attending them, and that's great because they're finding their own avenues for swim meets. But there's other teams out there that don't know what they want to do, don't know how they're going to get it done when we move to this open market system. So I'm encouraging those that are hosting open meets now, guys, think outside the box. Make it fun. Make it interactive. Really get engaged with these kids. That's our job. When I went to the business school, Dave Thomas told me, you're not running meets to make money. Yes, it's a byproduct. Okay? Put out a good product. Make sure you're there for your swimmers. Make sure you're there for your officials. Make sure you're there for your volunteer days. And do what you can. And if you ever have a problem, call any of us. I have reached out to so many different teams. And it's not about me at Cougs or Carl over at FCST or any of that. If I ever need anything, we call, we ask, we get things done, we help each other out. So don't be afraid to let us know. Okay. So moving on from the expectations, coaches and officials, what do we want? Clean facilities, safe environments, all that good stuff, and we need to pay attention to that. And we need to read those signs. If air quality becomes an issue, your meet director is usually the one, because once the meet starts, they really have no control over anything. They're going around putting out fires. Right? One of those fires is quality, air quality. If you start to hear it or you start to feel it yourself, start getting with the proper people. Who's the first person you talk to when you notice that you think there might be an air quality issue? Who do you talk to?
Site manager.
Site manager. More directly? Meet rep. Immediately tell your meet rep. You want to spread the word and not get it out to the parents and make it an issue? Tell your meet rep. Okay? The meet rep will decide whether they need to get the aquatics facility manager involved. Bring them both into a meeting. Hey guys, we think we might have some air quality issues. Okay. And sometimes you can't do anything. Sometimes you just have to sit there and have a conversation with your meet referee and get a combo with your coaches together and say, look, what is best for these athletes? Do we need to continue this meet or do we need to to scrap this meet? Do we need to find an alternate day or an alternate venue? What can we do? So those type of things, that's what we're focused on the TBC. Trying to provide anything we can do to provide you resources for anything you need to run it. So if y'all think of anything going through this and there was a problem area, speak up, please. So talking about the USA Swimming, Gulf Swimming and USA Swimming, safety marshals, we went over that, volunteers, submitting appropriate forms, you guys know all that. Let's get to the stuff you guys don't know. Annual certification, you're welcome. You only have to be here for an hour now if you're recertifying, and 2 hours if you're new. If you guys want to stick around and you guys want to help out with that, y'all are more than welcome to. I understand. Everybody's already out the door. I got it. It's okay. No guilt trip here. All right. Discussing new rules and procedures. So that's what we're doing. Certified for new meet directors, 80%. I would like you guys to go online and take a look at the meet directors test. It is online. It is a Google form or whatever you want to call it, Google Doc. There's more questions now. It's still at 80%, and I want to think you have to answer 51 of them correctly now to get the 80%. I've updated that. I have not released it yet. It will not be released till tomorrow. It'll have a link at the end of this slide presentation to the meet directors test. So the 4 questions that we have, or the 3 questions that we added, are all math questions. So we're going to go over that tonight. If you guys would do me a favor, I don't mind sifting through Google Forms. I want to see how you guys do on the meet director test. And you might be pretty interested yourself. But you've already passed your time required. You just be helping me again. Yes?
For meet directors, do we have to take the concussion?
As of right now, that's just California to the best of my knowledge. Again, I haven't been to a board meeting in a couple of months, but right now, there's no concussion protocol to follow.
Because they're asking AO.
Who got her? And who was it from? No. So what she's referring to is out in California, right, is where they've started the concussion protocol. And
That's required, starting September. Do it by January 1st for all coaches.
For all coaches and officials.
All coaches.
Okay.
I just want to.
That's why I was asking about meet director, because we're on deck just as much as a coach and official or referee.
Right, it's just coaches and officials. So
Today.
you'll be on the naughty list if you don't do it. That's the same as it's always been. If you don't have your background screening or your APT or your first aid, all that stuff, that pops up on the list that you guys get. Okay?
As we talk about the athlete protection training and all the training that's required like every other year or so, no matter for meet director or coaches, problem is like we want to host the meet in January, for example, and my APT expires in December, end of December. So in order to be able to be on the meet announcement, put the meet announcement out, I need to redo gets recertified like by the end of September. And then the new date will be end of September.
Right.
So there's so many jobs and so many things that require like an annual or biannual certification, and they give like the 90 days prior expiration would not change the actual expiration date. So you would have like a certain time.
This is a problem, and I understand your problem because we have this problem at the team that I used to work for. And what it needs to be is, I believe that falls under your club responsibility of all your registered on athletes to help you. First of all, it's on your deck pass. Okay, check it every once in a while. That's what we can do as individuals to be proactive about that. But what we can do as clubs is what we started doing at my former team. Is every season we sit down and we take a look at who's expiring and we take care of it at the beginning of the season. No, we don't have to worry about it at the end of the season. Not very many people host meets in August or September. Maybe a few inter-squad meets, but that's about it. But yeah, January is a little bit more testy time because APT always expires December 31st. So, there's a list. You can go through that list. You can check your deck pass, and you just have to stay on top of it. Unfortunately, that's the only way to do that, to stay safe. But check your deck pass, stay up with that, and if you're anything like me, I have to use my Google Calendar on my phone and remind myself it's expiring.
Right.
especially for something like that, because it is important, because you don't have a meet director, and now you gotta go shopping meet directors. Okay? All right. So, any more questions about new meet director certification or returning meet director certification?
Have you guys considered having it more than one time per year?
Actually, yes, I wanted to do that this year, but it was just way too, came up on me way too quick.
Is there another path to it? Because we've had-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anytime you miss this meeting, it's going to be video recorded right here.
Perfect.
Put up on our YouTube channel. You can go to the website, watch the video. You get I'll put the PowerPoint directly on the website so you can download it. All the links are interactive. Everything you need is actually on a section of our website. I can't show it to you for some reason. The projector doesn't let me show anything but PowerPoint. But it shows you everything that you need. All the rule books are all right there that you need, and then the link to the meet director test itself. So you have to watch the video, you have to get your rule book out, and you have to take the test online.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Which before was a big bother because we didn't have an online test. It was all done in PDF. So glad we got that taken care of.
Can you do it anytime during the year?
You can do it anytime you want, as many times as you want. No, not as many times. Once you pass. And as soon as you do it, I get home, I grade it, or I ask somebody else to grade it, Mark, or maybe Henry if I'm extremely busy, or if there's a lot of them, I'm not expecting it to take too long. But it, as a Google form set up as a quiz, it does grade most of the questions except for the fill in the blanks, which I go and review, so it doesn't take a long time to grade your test. It releases an email back to you, lets you know that you passed. It also releases an email to the sanctions coordinator, and then it puts it into a nice Excel spreadsheet so we know that you're certified and when you got certified. So now we have a true log that we can keep. We didn't have that before. Not a good way of doing it. All right, so it's still 80% to pass. Registered non-athlete member, maintain all your credentials, APT, background checks, confession protocol is what I need to add to this slideshow now as well. So, moving on. Certification, moving. Meet timeline. Gosh, I wish y'all could read this because I spent so much time on it. It really bothers me. Okay, so your meet timeline, really try and stick to this as much as possible. Print this out, put it in multiple places. There's your resources right there for the meet director, clinic notes, and all that good stuff, by the way. I'm going to move through this a little bit quicker, going through the safety marshal, console timing operators, all that good stuff. Maybe take a minute and go back. Volunteers. Okay, let's talk about the volunteers that you guys have. How many of you guys have an announcer at your meetings? Raise your hand. Honestly, because I've forgotten myself many times. Okay, have that announcer, have those little positions that we don't think about. Refer to this. Talk to other teams. Hospitality chairman. Please tell me all hospitality chairmen. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, we don't have to raise our hands. Ad chairman, program awards chairman. Divide and conquer, everybody. I mean, it's all this stuff has to be done, and it's easy to forget. But the best thing I learned from one of my best meet directors is to get organized and put it on paper. And so she would come up and she goes, "Look, here are all the positions you've had over the few years, and this is ridiculous. We can reduce this." And she reduced it. So sit down, have those meetings. Where are we finding the places that we forget most often? Okay. Is there anybody here that has not every meet, but you start every season the same way? That first meet's a little shaky, right? Or that first long course meet. Oh my goodness, I printed all those lane timer sheets for one side of the pool, and it's odds and evens. Oh my gosh, what did I do? What is going on? Why are we not, swimming girls and boys heats alternating? Oh, we have two pools. What are some of the things that we're forgetting when we're planning? What positions? Anybody have any areas that say, "Hey guys, really watch out for this. We've had this problem in the past." Y'all have got to be more interactive. I'm going to put that in the flyer next year. Okay? Carl, bail me out, man.
I just have a suggestion for you. When it gets to long course, on that first meet where everybody's doing circle in again, how about doing the first few events as a circle in, so that you can get started, get some forms out there on the forum, and then panic.
I've got something to say about that, but I don't know if I should speak before. No, go ahead.
Put that on your announcer.
We typically, we consider the signing of parent we make 9,000 announcements to our kids ahead of time, to our parents, we send an email to the parents. You just need to remind them repeatedly
Yes.
push them and you just have nothing to follow on. But I don't think not circling in for the first few events is a great idea because then the first few events.
Well, here's the problem with that. If you circle in for one, you got to circle in for always. You got to go by what the main announcement says. So here's the other little bit of information is I love what you said about that because I know lots of meet directors that do the same thing. When those circling sheets come down, especially at the first meet, that's what we're doing. Hey, how you doing? Where's the PAC coach? I need to talk to the PAC coach. All right, I need to talk to the Katie coach. I need to talk to all these people. I have actually been talking to Active Network. I know y'all love them. I do, for their Meet Mobile app. We're thinking about integrating, if you know your Swimmers USA ID, you can check them in for their events online.
What?
Goes straight to your laptop, goes straight to Meet Manager as checked in, and there you go. It's all assigned by numbers, and it's all, everybody has to have a password to do it. So basically, they said they can do push notifications whenever your GPS in your phone gets within a certain mile radius of that meet venue, because we have to have the meet venue in there to put it on Meet Mobile. You start getting messages, hey, little Johnny is in the meet today, would you like to check them in for their events? Oh yes, I would. It also allows the coach to do the same thing. Little Johnny's here, I need to check him in, but I'm warming up 15 kids.
Yeah, and when
I'm done.
when they're pushing it, can you remind them that like circle in if they haven't?
That's something completely out of my control. I would be talking to Team Unify about a push system that does that, because I would be a Team Unify team. So anyway, as it stands right now, when it comes to circling in, you got to do that, make that extra effort. I know when we run long course meets that we do it not by speed when we do the circle-in sheets, alphabetical order by last name. Makes that a lot easier. Okay, don't do it by speed. Little things like that. Going over and talking to the teams about events that are missing and stuff like that. Guys, the circle-in sheets are pulled 45 minutes before the meet starts. Here's the problem I found with the whole circle-in problem in the first few events. Stop trying to seed the entire meet. Seed the first two events. Get the heat sheet out for the first two events, and then finish it all up. You should be finished doing the rest of the events and starting to print those lane timer sheets and those those heat sheets for the coaches and officials right about the time the meet starts. If you do the first two events, it takes you 5 minutes to see it and all that good stuff. Yes, you get held up because at 45 till, you have your meet director running around like a crazy person with a circle-in sheets trying to get those last minute kids. And that's counterproductive for your console people that are over there, had 2 cups of coffee and ready to put some kids in the meet. It's a problem. I get it. But communication beforehand, what's our plan of attack? I'm going to go ahead and pick on her several times. Manisha's over there, okay? And I worked with Manisha for many years. And she would come to me with a to-do list as the meet director. Like, here's your checklist. Don't deviate from your checklist. Okay? But the console operators had it too. When do we print? How do we mark it? We had a little spreadsheet that we have. And you can do it in Meet Manager now where you can mark that you've printed results and you've printed labels and stuff like that. And that's great. But we still have to do that by hand before all those handy little Meet Manager devices were there. So, again, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And this is why I got you guys here that have done this for a year. And I want your problems, and I want your questions, and I want them in the next 25 minutes. Okay? So, moving on from volunteers, just think about it, plan ahead, see what you're going to need, and it's different. Don't pick on Chris just because I've known Chris for a while too. He started breaking down by venue. Your team uses maybe 1, 2, or 3 venues of a third backup. Know what you need for each venue. And have a dedicated file for that, because there's nothing like being at a venue that you're not normally at. You go, where's the microphone? Oh, it's still at the office. Oh. We always use the high school microphone, or we take it. For 3 weeks. Anyway, equipment. How many of you guys rent golf trailers? Raise your hand. Okay, if you need it, I'm renting for it. So they include radios. Anything else that you need, strobe lights, stuff like that. If you need a golf trailer, they're very modestly priced, I believe, for the equipment that you're getting. If you need it, have it there. It's always great to have a backup.
I have never done a meet without getting a golf trailer, but I can say in all these years, equipment is getting worn out.
Yeah, I think so. I think Eddie was talking about having a revamp on the trailers. I don't know about that.
Yeah, last week we went there, we cleaned up and sort
It's
everything
time to
that's
do it
good.
again.
It took us about
Okay.
8 hours. took all the trailers and Eddie ordered some new parts.
Okay.
Yeah, we fixed most of the things and it's done and all of it's gonna be, it takes a little bit, but we change it, but we went there, we had a whole crew and cleaned it up.
And all the trailers are in one spot. And all the trailers are in one spot now, so it's not, I mean, that used to be the biggest problem, is because
Yes.
they were all spread out. Now that they're not, we can get on top of that. Okay, I'm making notes, guys, making notes. All right, moving on. This is, I stole this from Henry, has probably been in the meat director's certification training for the better part of 2 decades now. But this is actually breaking down all the different jobs and stuff like that, like we just discussed. Again, it looks really great on a computer. Okay, safety marshals, again, identifying attire, that you can't give them all like Hawaiian shirts, it's not identifying attire. I'm talking about the construction yellow, construction orange, well identified, put a light on their head, I don't care. Make them identifiable because they are usually, if you don't have lifeguards on duty, they are usually your first responder in most situations. Don't take that as it's like, life or death situation, but they're usually the ones getting little giants scrape their knee or fell or hit their head or whatever. So make them readily identifiable and get them out there. I mean, I know we're burning through our volunteers at this point, but you need the safety marshals. It's required.
Do we have other people in the safety vests too, even though they're not marshals? Like, we'll put our runners on.
As long as they're not on deck and acting in a safety marshal capacity, if you
Like, we
need
use our runners
runners.
so that people know, hey, this person needs to get through.
My best suggestion on that is no.
Okay.
As a person that runs a lot of meets, I would invest a little bit of money in a lime green colored shirt that says runner or volunteer on the back of it and give those out.
The other
I know
thing
that's
that-
hard because people won't wash them and return them and you gotta keep buying more. We make buttons.
You can get the lime green vests. Get lime green vests.
Yeah, just get a vest with a different color on it that you can definitely, hey, no one's gonna go seek them out for medical attention.
The other thing you have to think about too is your safe sport. Like if you want to be safe sport compliant, all your safety marshals and people on deck.
Yeah, but she's saying away from the deck,
Right.
like runners, stuff like that, so they can act, so other meet personnel can identify them in a crowd because they're always in their own place. Yeah, let them through something. I mean, I would just get lanyards. That's what we do for our volunteers. If they're a volunteer and they're running for us, they have a lanyard. No one ever stops anybody with a lanyard. You'd be amazed. Go to a restaurant one night with a lanyard on, see what happens. Do the same thing with a ladder, by the way. Walk into anywhere you want with a ladder. Look through there, make it fix something. All right, safety marshals, 21 or older. I've said that like 15 times. Safety marshals, when do they need to be there? Before everybody else comes in the building. Okay? This is a safety issue, and I've seen this happen over and over on meets that I hosted. Okay? You let people in the door, there better be safety marshals there first. And I know, they're parents, they're volunteers, they're late. Okay, great, grab a vest. So have somebody monitor the door. Okay, moving on, volunteers, entry chairman, receiving entries. So when we're receiving entries, just remember, if it's one venue, it doesn't matter what kind of meeting it is. If it's one venue, it goes to the meet host. And we messed that up a few times last year. Where a single venue was hosting and it said, send your entries to TPC at GulfSwimming.org. I had a great weekend that weekend. Because there was 2 other meets that we're trying to seed. Pre-seeded, 200 yards or meters or shorter, deck seated, circling for 400 or longer. All that stuff you guys know. Anything that you guys are having problems with when it comes to the rules, the 4-hour rule, entries, seating, all of that good stuff. Because really that should be going to your administrative official and your meet referee. Okay? But inevitably we always get questions at meet directors about what should we do. In my opinion, your first answer should be, you know what, let me go get with the meet referee and the admin official and thank you for bringing that to my attention and I'll be right back with you. Okay? Those are the people that make the decisions. Once that first whistle blows, right now your job is to help run a smooth meet on the back end with and assist the administrative official in any capacity they need you to assist them with, and then make sure that, you're walking around shaking hands and kissing babies all day. How can I help? How can I make this better? Let me go check on the results. Let me go check on the award table. Let me go check on hospitality. Let me go check on the coaches. Let me go check on whatever. And that's all you're doing. Go down your checklist. Repeat. It's fun. When I met Manisha, she said, you don't ever sit down, do you? No. Not normally, definitely not when I'm a meet director. Okay, you have to put a bell around you.
Manage while walking around. That's the key.
Yes.
No, make yourself visible. Absolutely. There's nothing worse than going to a meet and nobody can find anybody. Okay? Yes. Where? Question? 4-hour rules, keep going. 12 and unders. Remember, open events don't apply to the 12-hour rule. I mean, the 5th. Open events do not, even with 12-year-old swimmers, 12 and under swimmers, do not apply to the 4-hour rule. Because there was a lot of questions on that. I got some emails. Again, with formatting, if it's not a Gulf sanctioned meet, you're kind of left to your own devices for that. Fines and fees and all that good stuff, everybody's completely aware because this is another area that I was asked to talk about. This is entry process. When are they due? Meet entries are due 2 weeks prior to the meet. When it's only a single host, when it's 3, when it's more, it's 3. Always due on Fridays at midnight, right? Until I get that email the next morning saying I completely forgot. Okay, read roll, up, down roll, beyond IMX rule, rationale for beyond IMX rule, you might want to read that. Facility surcharges, these are all standard, we can't deviate from these, but I've recently had a question from some people that are hosting at universities to up that fee, and I believe I'm going to discuss with Henry about that because it's at university. Again, there's that lovely timeline again. The part that's added in here is right here 2 weeks before. Let's go ahead and talk about it once we get there. Sanctions, fees for sanctions. Everybody understands that your sanctions are due when? 8 weeks. If some of you go, oh, if it's not a Gulf sponsor meet, whatever, 8 weeks. Get it in 8 weeks. You're going to need to do that. You're going to have revisions. And if you don't have everything there, get it in anyway. It doesn't have to be complete. It has to be submitted by a certain date. It does not have to be complete. Shoot Natalie an email. Here's my sanction application. Here's my fee. I paid it online. I'm missing my meet director still, or I'm missing a meet referee, but here's my information. I'm going to get it to you as soon as I can. Now he's going to say great things. Okay, so don't let the fact that you're not done prevent you from getting stuff in on time. So there's your club sponsor meets and all that good stuff there. Long course schedule, short course and long course schedule. We're in a unique position this year for the entire short course and long course schedule. Every single venue for every single meet is filled by meet hosts. It's pretty good. I think there's only one meet we're kind of sketchy on right now, and that's the senior meet in November. Rice is having some difficulties with that. They're still trying to work on it. Writing announcements, you're going to get that from the Gulf. Please help us out. We've tried to do a much better job to get all the years of recycling meet announcements and doing it right out there. We're trying not to make as many mistakes from recycling those old meets as possible. We make it a standard that somebody creates the file, somebody creates the meet announcement at the TPC, and then we send it to somebody for review. Henry reviews a lot of meet files just because he's so good at it. Okay, but you know, he even still sends me his meet files, and I'll try and look at them. So do the same with you guys. When you guys create a meet file, if you're posting your own meet, send it to somebody else. Put it into your Team Unify system as a hidden event. Check it out, test it out, try and crash it, find out where you. I mean, I did the same thing, and we had our entry squad meet yesterday with Cougs, and I set the first 2 events, the girls and boys 25 freestyle, to a time trial event, so nobody signed up for it. It was fantastic. Everybody just did a 50 free. We did 25s in back press and fly, but it ended up turning out to be a good mistake because the 800s were supposed to swim 25s, and we just let them all swim the 50 free, and they enjoyed it. They were swimming with the rest of the team. But you got to watch for that sort of stuff because I got there and I'm like, why does it say event 3 is the first event? I mean, yeah, it wasn't sanctioned or anything like that. We just used stopwatches and we just wanted to get the kids used to the meet, but still, had that been a real meet, man, I would have felt really bad. Anisha knows how bad I feel whenever I make mistakes in a meet like that. But we do. We make mistakes, but we got to make sure that we log that. Make sure you go back, correct your file, especially if you use that file multiple years. Do all that, make those good notes. Sanction application process, we are all fully aware of that. Does anybody have questions about the sanction application process? No? Okay, here we go. MAP policies. This is the new MAP policy. It's right there. All you have to do is cut and paste that into your meet announcements. In the Gulf meets, it will already be there. And I very highly encourage you to click on that link and read the entire MAP policy. How many of you are fully aware and are completely prepared to handle your restroom situation this year? That is not good. That is not good at all. There are two options. What are the two options? By the way, it's a test question. Bonus points. What are your two options?
Separate bathrooms or monitored absence, rotated absence.
So, separate bathrooms. Oh, okay.
For
That's what you're
parents
saying.
and-
For adult athletes versus. Okay. So yes, technically, I guess that would be a third option. But let's all face it. We're not going to have that many bathrooms to actually have. This is for adult athletes only, and this is for regular athletes. So you can post somebody at the restrooms, or you can schedule periodic sweeps of your restrooms. That's it. And it's got to be done. So there's a new position for you. Not a lot of response out of that. I'm actually not in here any grumbling. Sounds about right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions over the MAP policies? Has anybody read the MAP policy yet? Completely in its entirety? Okay, I would love to put it up. I completely plan to put it up, but I cannot. It won't let me. It will only let me show my slideshow. Every time I exit out of the slideshow mode, the screen goes blank.
Just to further expound, the person who posts in the restroom has to have your background checks.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, it has to be a safety marshal. 21 and older, they have to be, all the certifications have to be there. So here's the big deal, okay? Officials on break. I gotta run use the bathroom because, Lewis wants me back on deck in like 3 seconds because, you know what, he put me on turns for breaststroke and I don't like him anymore, but I still gotta go to the bathroom, get back out there, walk into the restroom and there's a minor in there. What do? Turn around, walk right back out. You're not breaking any rules at that point. Okay? If you have another adult athlete with you or a non-athlete with you, then you're fine. You cannot be one-on-one. And it cannot be direct. Okay? And it has to be interruptible. Okay? Transparency and interruptible is the key part there. Okay? That's another question, by the way.
So if you choose to not have someone do the sweep and just have someone posting it, would you have to have one female and male?
You have one at each door. If there are 4 doors to that locker room, you have to have 4 people, or at least if the doors are right beside each other, you can have one person standing in each door. But the rules say male with male, female with female. So what are you going to do in that situation? There's your gray areas. If you have both doors right there, you're not going inside. If you're doing sweeps, it must be a male safety marshal going into the male bathroom, female safety marshal going into the female bathroom.
I can understand locker rooms. What do you do about public restrooms?
Public restrooms are not part of the deck and not part of the pool. If they're outside of the like in the lobby area. Under my interpretation, that's not part of the deck and that doesn't fall underneath there. Now, if that's the only restroom, like at Katy High School, and they lock the locker rooms and the swimmers have to go into that restroom, yeah, absolutely.
Now it's from,
What if you have porta potties outside?
not on deck.
Better get somebody a sun hat, right? If you got your athletes going out there, you got to protect your athletes. If there's an athlete out there and you're providing that facility for the athlete, whether it's the pool facility or the actual facilities, you have to monitor that.
Okay, we get a little technical
Okay.
wording here. So when you said that if you do periodic sweeps, it has to be either a male safety marshal or a female safety marshal. Can it be either a male individual who is non-athlete APT and a female non-athlete APT, or do you have to have, or do they have to be actual safety marshals at that meet? Like for instance,
They're
if you
coming
have
in
a-
direct contact with an athlete. They must be a registered safety marshal, so they must be 21 and older. And they
Right,
must
but I'm
have
talking
all
about
that.
like if a meet director does a sweep
If
with
it-
a female.
Well, yeah, you're perfectly. You
Yeah.
would be technically a safety marshal at that point too. Yes.
Exactly,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because As long as they're registered, they've had their background screening, they're legal to be on deck and have interaction with those swimmers.
Yeah, that's where I was saying, you know,
No,
the
I get what you're saying.
wanna make
No,
sure
no,
that it's
absolutely.
somebody who fits that bill.
No.
But they don't have to be working as
No.
a safety marshal.
Now, keep in mind, you don't have to list every single safety marshal you have working at the meet.
We were told we did. We were told we did.
No, you have to have a point of contact. So in other words, here's where the confusion came in. Same thing with the meet director. Let's say me and Chris are hosting a meet together. We're both meet directors. I'm working Saturday, he's working Sunday. We both have to be on the meet direct. We both have to be on the meet announcement. Same thing with the safety marshal. I'm working noon to 3, he's working 3 to 6. We both have to be listed as safety marshals because we are the lead point of contact as the safety marshal position. You have many more safety marshals, and there's where the gray area came in and where we didn't know what to do is, what about all those guys? And as we saw last year, they didn't even think they had to be 21. No. If they have that vest on and they're on deck and they're in direct contact with an athlete, you have to have everything done. Just where we're at. Sorry. Andrew, do you have anything
So
to add?
just to clarify your point, the point of contact has to be documented, not a full list of people. So she was saying she thought all of them had to be listed, all the safety marshals. In this case, it's the point of contact at any time.
Well, and here's what we also heard, and Paige has said this many times. When in doubt, put their name on there. When in doubt, put their name on there.
And what Paige had said last year
Yeah.
is that at any given time,
Yeah.
one of the people listed on the meet announcement had to be there in order to talk to them. But you didn't have to put all of them, but if you had these two names, one of them had better be there.
If one person's going to be there the entire time, then put that one person on there for sure. Okay. All right. Again, I apologize for not being able to put this up here. Not that we'd be able to read it. But it was the entire MAP policy. It is linked on our website. It is on the USA Swimming website. You can go to Google and put USA Swimming, MAA, and just stop right there because it's going to pull up the MAP policy. Okay? Read it. It's got a lot of information that pertains to us. And officials. They have to start doing those briefings at the beginning, talking with coaches and stuff like that. So back to writing announcements. Everything's good there. Announcements. Highlight the changes. Blah, blah, blah. Running golf equipment. Golf Spot lovely timeline again. Meet Manager software. Everybody's doing well with their Meet Manager software. Nobody's having any problems. Everybody knows Henry's email address. Sorry, Henry. Or my email address, or Mark's email address. Okay, so that's pretty much all the changes I had for you guys. The Meet Director test is at the last slideshow. If y'all want to go take a look at the slideshow at the Meet Director's test. This will get sent out to everybody tonight in an email. I didn't print anything. I want to save a few trees. We don't need any of that. If you want a hard copy of it, you want it printed out, you send me an email. I will print it out and drive it over to your house. Okay? Via FedEx.
Regarding the reporting, I think that it's real important as meet directors that you get with Lauren when the results want to go out, that we follow up with the coaches of the teams that had exceptions or had issues, because we've been delayed almost 2 weeks before with coaches that did not get their kids registered, especially for that first meet. The kids weren't registered, or they had to update something the birthday and they weren't doing it, and then that means that we get delayed in reporting. So make sure that you get with Lauren to keep on those coaches.
And this is another thing. I'm sorry, I kind of glazed over this when we were at the MAP policy. Guys, we have a new procedure. When you do a meet, you're going to get that naughty list, you're going to get that nice list, right? You're getting a new list this year. It's the MAP list. Okay? So 2 weeks before the meet, that's not the right page. 2 weeks before the meet starts, whenever you get your file from us, if you're running a golf meet, or whenever you get your entries in, you send it to Lauren, and she reconciles it for you. Okay, it used to not be that way. You used to get an RE1 file, and you had to do that yourself. Every single session, you should be getting that and doing that. But Lauren has taken over that, and she's done a really, really good job. And she has decided that our process for doing this, as soon as I find it, there we go. So all swimmers must be registered as athletes with USA Swimming to be covered under the USA Swimming insurance, and all adult athletes must complete their APT training in all their USA MAP requirements. So after the team entries, you send them to her. She's going to send you, you should get the list from Eddie still for the non-athlete registrars that are not good officials and coaches, where you go check the naughty list and the good list. You're now going to get one for athletes. And you have to make sure that they're registered for their APT and background screening and all that good stuff as adult athletes. And now you know how many athletes you're going to have there, and if you have any where you don't have any adult athletes, do you have to post all that stuff at the locker room anymore?
You have adults there.
Absolutely. Doesn't matter if you don't have adult athletes, but I had that question already. Well, we don't have any adult athletes there. Doesn't matter. You have adults there. You have registered non-athlete adults there. You still have to do it. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you send it to Lauren. Lauren will run it through the database. I'm going to try and do it for Gulf meets because I have everybody in one file, and then I break them up into separate files, and then that way I can send. She said it shouldn't be that big of a list. If they haven't completed something for their APT or their background screening or anything like that, then that's when you're going around saying, hey, I need to talk to this coach because they're not registered to be on deck. So where's,
Do they now have to do a background screen thing? Because I thought it was
adult athletes?
Yes.
Yeah, the APT, excuse me, the APT. I get stuck on the non-athlete and being meet directors plenty. So if I go to PAC and I say, hey, you guys don't have any coaches or non-athletes or anything that aren't ready to be on deck, they're all clear, but you have a couple of athletes, that's who your point of contact is the coach. Are they here? Are they going to be swimming? I need to talk to them. And if they're not registered to be on deck, you need to go give that list to your meet official as well. And if they see that swimmer show up, they know they shouldn't be on deck. Okay, so again, constant communication with you and meet referees. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay? I was told that 3 times one time. Twice. Oh, I called me. Okay, so that's the MAP policy when it comes to reconciling your meet. It shouldn't be a lot extra for you guys. It's right in there with the non-athletes and stuff like that.
It's the athlete, APT status shown on the paper.
Absolutely, great question. So what do you do whenever you have that student come up or that athlete come up and say, hey, no, I'm not on that list anymore. I've got my deck pass done. Same as coaches do. Hopefully a little bit more sincere and not as snooty as coaches when they do it to officials. But hey, I'm ready. I can be on deck. Yes, you can show them your green light on your deck pass, and that goes straight to the meet referee. Meet directors, when you intercept swimmers like that, take them to the admin official first. Admin official will figure out, they'll be talking with the meet referee and figure out how they want to handle that. But that's something I did bring up to the head of officials. Hey, how are we going to handle this day of the meet? Real simple, same way we do it with everybody else that's on a flagged list. And if we can get it beforehand, that's the point. I don't want you guys stressing out the day of the meet because you're going to be stressing out the day of the meet. We all know that. Okay? Hey, 2 minutes to spare. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Let's stick around. We're going to take a 5-minute break after this and get the other one started. So, yes.
Yeah, so going back to the adult athletes
Yes.
and any athletes that are 18 and over. I mean, obviously we know our club swimmers, but we don't know who the other club swimmers are. Sometimes a 17-year-old looks to be 21,
And you're trying to identify for what purpose?
because don't we have to check their?
That's what I just said. You're going to be sent a list of registered adult athletes,
Okay.
and you will be told who is not completed and what they haven't completed. The same you get when you host a meet for non-athletes for the coaches. When you get that list, you're still 2 weeks out from your meet. You need to be in contact with those teams and reach out to those entry chair people that sent you their entry files or the email address that we give you as a TPC when we put out the team listing. Send them an email and say, hey, you have these athletes that have not done these things. They need to be done before the day of the meet. By the way, if they get them done in time, they can show their deck pass at the meet. Please get with my meet director, or please get with my meet referee. So you'll be given a list, and like I said over here, when you go to each team, like we're going to, you'd be in a coaches meeting and say, hey, the coaches meeting before the meet starts, hey, I need to see coaches from these teams. You have athletes that can't be on deck. I need to. That's the coach's responsibility. Should be, excuse me, not the coach's responsibility. But that is your avenue. yes, you don't know who these swimmers are. You need to go to their coach, and you need to have your meet referee, if you do have an issue, with you. Because your meet referee is going to sit there and go, I'm a meet ref. Nothing happens without me.
Okay, because generally we check before, prior to this, and just the coaches, we check them before they even get on deck, which obviously we can't do, so they may be on deck, but then we'll.
But you'll have a list,
Yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
and whenever you start opening up those doors, what you're alluding to is you're going to have that gray area of that adult athlete on deck that hasn't completed their stuff just because you haven't gotten to them yet, but you know who they are and what team they swim for.
Okay.
You're doing your due diligence by as soon as possible going to that coach and saying, here. And you've done that by emailing them ahead of time and saying, hey, I need you to take care of this. Please email me when it's done. Please have the athlete's parents email me when they're done. I need an email saying it's been taken care of. They show up the day of the meet, you still have 2 or 3 left over, you talk to the coach, I need to see this individual now. If they say, oh, well, they're not here, great. Well, I'm going to let the meet referee know if that kid magically shows up, they're going to be in a lot of trouble and not by me. Donna's going to have them for lunch.
Just say it.
I'm not picking on you, because
You're doing a good job. So
I like her.
I can see your potential problem is when an 18 and older swimmer shows up maybe on the
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if the referee at the meet doesn't have access to swims, the only way that you can let that 18 and older athlete swim in your meet is if they have their deck pass on their smartphone or print it to show you. You cannot go.
So on your deck entry form, you need to have a spot, like a check off.
Well, and that's something that we're trying to tackle with, the TPC, and this kind of falls out of the realm of a meet director, kind of, but it's still directly involved with it. What we're going to tell our meet directors is that's just one more position. You have a clerk of course. That clerk of course has a copy of the list, and they check everybody on that list. You've got their date, you've got their age whenever they on deck. We need to take that 2 seconds to see. Oh, they're 18 years in age or older. Let me check this list real quick. Oh no, you're not. You're not cleared to be on deck. Whoever's entering can do the same thing. That list is there and that list is provided, and Lauren says she can do it by the database. So if they're not in the meet, then it's not going to pull them into that record. So it's not going to be a long list.
And
Wait a
the
minute,
coaches
they're not
know
in the
too, that they're informing their 18 and over swimmers that, hey, this is something more, so please be expected that if you're going to be at a meet, you gotta have this.
Coaches have been told they had to have that done by, what was the date? June 23rd, something like that? June 23rd. So everybody should be in compliance. It's more or less for those new athletes or the teams that just plain didn't know. New team, new coach, whatever the situation is, somebody forgot and doesn't know that adult athletes.
But make sure that they tell the athlete that they need to have their deck pass on their smartphone, because then just
Absolutely.
because they did it doesn't mean that the athlete.
So we need to remind all the
I
athletes to
can
bring their
say
phones
for
to
like,
meet.
any times you have a senior event, senior meet,
Yeah, that's,
master swimmers show up.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, they're dual masters, dual USA, and they're always clueless.
this is true.
So will the list that Lauren sends, will it have everybody? So if
No.
they on deck, we can check the list?
It's just
Or
not, just
It'll-
not-
it-
it's not the
It'll have the athletes in the database.
that are in?
That's it.
So if they on deck?
So if they're on decking, no, well, we can have Lauren say anybody from these X teams. If you know what teams are coming, that's not a problem. We can run the report for the entire team. So you have everybody on that team, whether they're entered in the meet or not, and have that. Lauren said that's not a problem.
Then we can look them up.
You might have to, buy her Starbucks or something. But she'll definitely do it. Whatever you need, put it this way. When I talked to Lauren said, however we need to integrate this to make it so it's just a very simple, here's your report, here's what you need to do it. Then that's what we'll do. And it's not hard, because the SWIMS database can crank out those reports, nothing flat.
Because that's the only way to be able to cover the whole decks.
Just make it a deck entry. to show
When you
that-
do deck entry, the standard process when you do deck entry is going to be the clerk, of course, when they see an adult athlete entering the meet, must show them their deck pass to continue the deck entry process. If it doesn't happen, what's going to happen when it gets to the computer room? The admin official is going to do her job or his job, and they're going to get online and check it through SWIMS anyway. I have an adult athlete, and that's immediately going to hit the math flag. Okay, so tell anybody that works in your computer room, 18 and older, red flags need to be going up. because that's our responsibility. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Oh, I need more time for questions and comments.
A section in our announcement that says this statement.
Yes.
ATMO.
Yeah,
It's in the map.
it's in the map statement which was up there earlier, which is also cut and paste out of this presentation.
Okay.
Would y'all open up the door and let all these meet directors in? There's like 20 of them.
Now that BPOP doesn't exist, do you know if there's anything that's comparable to that that can be used?
Yes, Scoretronics does a scoreboard that costs $900 and doesn't have an infrared remote. It's an event flipper. And I want it bad. That's about it. Guys, I'm sorry we ran out of time. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns over tonight, please email me. If you did not sign in, you need to sign in or you will not get credit. If you're new, there is no sign-in sheet. If you're registered online to be here, you have it.
10 of them have an internet all.